Hey everyone, welcome to Conversations with Team Fuka, the Tech Club. I'm Andre, this is Amanda. We're happy to have you. We're here to answer any questions that you guys might have about the club, recruiting, life at Fuqua, any companies, internship experience. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have. So you don't need to wait until the end to ask questions. You can ask them anytime. Uh, so I'm from Brazil originally. I used to work as a tech consultant, and then I work in marketing, in banking, and then I transitioned into to tech via Fuqua. And then I was actually at Google for my internship.
Hi, my name's Amanda. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I worked at IBM as a management consultant for 3 years prior to Fuqua. And for my internship, I was at Facebook doing strategic planning and insights.
So, what is the purpose of the Tech Club? It's a professional club here at Fuqua. So, the main goal is to improve and sustain tech recruiting outcomes here at Fuqua. So, it's to take any students that might have a tech background or might not have, from wherever they were before in their careers to tech. Uh, we have people from different backgrounds that from different countries. They used to work in different industries. Our cabinet here on the club reflects that. So it's our job to prepare students to do the transition.
Yeah, tech is one of the top industries at Fuqua. About 30% of our students go there every year. Our club itself hosts around 650 members, and we have some of the top employers here like Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Cisco,
Yeah.
Apple, and Dell.
So the way we do this is through several events. I think we kick off the year with the tech conference, the tech symposium. So it's the biggest event of the year. So this year we had around 250 people attending throughout the entire Duke community. Uh, we had Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Cisco, Dell, Wayfair, a bunch of different companies talking about like trends in different trends in tech, AI, machine learning, IoT, fintech and robotics. So it was pretty cool to have. It's usually alumni that come to campus, so it's pretty cool to have to welcome them and see the level of engagement that we got. So I think was a good way to start the year.
Yeah, and one of our other biggest events is the Tech Trek. So over fall break, we take a large group of first years over into the Bay Area between San Francisco and Seattle, where we visit around, I don't know, like 15, 20 companies sometimes. And so we experience a whole variety of different interests, different roles, different industries within tech. The Tech Trek is really a great way for students to, go out there and figure out what companies they might be interested in, and even explore some new companies that they might not realize they are interested in.
Yeah, so actually last year I was a first year student. I was part of the team that helped to plan and run the track, and it was really cool because you have a lot of interaction with the companies, with alumni, and it's very different when you think about working in the industry, and then when you actually go there and see the Google campus, see the Facebook campus in person. You can visualize like, do I see myself working here? Do I like the people? So it's a very good way for people, especially people that maybe don't have are not in the tech industry or are not in the U.S. To see the Bay Area, see Seattle, and kind of network with both alumni and also your fellow students that have a similar interest than you.
Yeah, we also have a series of career development events throughout the year run by students. So first up is the Tech 101 series. This is kind of a broad overview of what tech roles are out there and also what to expect within tech recruiting at Fuqua. Next up is our kind of break into tech sessions where students who don't have tech background can, ask questions and figure out what is the right way for them to break into tech. What role, what industry, questions like that. Do you want to go on?
Yeah, so I think from the recruiting perspective, it covers very basic things like getting your resume and translating to tech. It could be that you did finance at a different industry, and maybe you want to transition to finance and tech. There's some minor things you might want to change about maybe the wording. Some just your resume needs to like read tech. So that's when we help with maybe cover letters. We do more personalized interview mocks, so we have second year students and alumni to sit down with the first year students to actually help them prepare for the interview process, do prepare for case studies, for example. So there's different approaches that we take. Another session that we have specifically for recruiting is called the pipeline program, where we have the second year students that work in tech during their internships, and maybe they have previous experience in tech as well. They run sessions that are very specific to help you interview and get a job in tech. So that covers, like I mentioned, the resume and the cover letter part, but also how to network with alumni, or when companies come to campus, how to answer to behavioral questions that pretty much all the companies ask, and also how to prepare for case interviews, which are very prevalent nowadays. I think most tech companies do it. So you need to know how to answer, like, what would you improve at a product if you're interviewing for Google, for Facebook. So we have those sessions to help people, the students, to be very structured and understand what are the expectations from the companies, and be more, I guess, authentic in the answers. We actually have a few questions, so we're gonna take them right now. So the first one is from Pallavi Doshi. So, does the club organize special events for students who don't have any background in the tech industry? So, Amanda, you mentioned a little bit about the Break into Tech sessions.
Yeah, so I feel like there's not really any special events. All of these events that we host in the club are open to any student who is interested in them. So we do organize, again, like we mentioned, the Break into Tech sessions. There's also like more roundtable discussions during lunch and learns. There's also masterclass workshops. So if you don't know about Agile development or SQL, you can learn about them from your fellow students.
Yeah, and then I think our estimate is that maybe half the students that go into tech at Fuqua don't have a tech background. So we try to have people on the camp that reflect that. So we have one student that was a kindergarten teacher, high school teacher, that he worked at Amazon during the summer. So we have multiple people that have maybe experience in marketing but not at tech, and they use that experience to leverage that experience to transition to a marketing role at Google, for example. So I think there's multiple ways to do it. Don't be concerned if you don't have a background in tech. That most people that want to transition, they did successfully. Yeah. So we have a few other questions. So from Tony Chen, what type of roles and functions do companies typically recruit at Fuqua? He mentions product management, corporate strategy, marketing. I think those are all correct.
All of them. Product management is one thing that a lot of MBA students do want to break into. Marketing is another key role, not only specific like PMM, product marketing management, but also just like channel marketing. All sorts of marketing roles are out there. Corporate strategy is a huge other thing. That's what I worked in strategic planning over the summer. There's also a lot of operations roles.
Yeah, so I actually worked at operations at Google over the summer. We had people in sales, we had people in finance. We had a few PMs there. So basically, tech is the industry. So as far as function goes, it's pretty wide open. I think very few companies really require a background, like a technical background, for like specific roles. PM is the only one that comes to mind, actually. All the other roles, you can leverage whatever experience that you had previously to Fuqua to transition to a tech company. So I have one more question about Dipanshu Mehta. I'm sorry about the names, by the way. How does tech recruiting process happen? It's usually through the tech club. So I'll say it's a combination with the career center and then the tech club. So the career center has the same here at Fuqua has the more official. The companies come in, they do company presentations, they do like happy hours, networking events, and then the tech club has more informal settings where we have lunch and learns where either second year alumni they come to campus for during lunch to basically ask to answer any questions that the student might have, and then that gives all the students a chance to network and be a little more candid on the questions that they want to answer.
Yeah, so I would jump in and say, GTS is the official platform. We work with the CMC. We have a CMC director that within tech that we work with closely. But the club also organizes company-specific events. So sometimes a company will reach out and want to do a case competition with us. And so that is how we would help connect students to the companies directly.
So, and then I think just kind of, since we're talking about the recruiting and the timeline, how it goes, it's usually when you get to campus in August and early September, You have a few weeks to focus on academics and to really focus on your Fuka experience, and then things start to kick off like pretty quickly. I guess towards the mid to the later part of September, we have the tech conference, which is usually like the official kickoff event for recruiting as well, because a lot of companies come to campus to speak. And then we start having the company formation sessions where you usually are focusing, you're developing your resume, your story around the October and prepping for interviews, and then attending those company presentations to decide, I guess, which roles, which companies you want to work. The tech track is towards the later part of October, I think. Yeah. So that's when you have the chance to visit the companies, and then once you come back, basically you are almost ready to like apply to companies, and then you hear back if you got an interview invite. That's all on campus, by the way. So you hear maybe in December or early January if you get an interview invite to those companies. So it's gonna be in January, February, March timeframe. If you're doing more off campus or like custom search, the timeline can expand the whole year. So a lot of people that are fellow classmates that did that, they were focusing since October on making connections with those companies. Maybe they even flew into the Bay Area, or they leveraged the Triangle area here. The Raleigh, Durham, we have a lot of tech companies like IBM, Cisco, Red Hat. So they are all here in the area. So you can leverage that as well to network and see if you want to stay in North Carolina, for example, after your MBA. But then what happens is most people usually have an offer by, I want to say, like March, April, maybe even a little bit before, and we start the internship in like late May and June. So that's like how the tech recruiting timeline works. So we have a couple more questions.
Yeah, sure. So let's see. Alex, Michael, sorry about names again. Are there any on-campus resources that stand out to one or both of you that have been particularly useful or valuable for your career in tech leadership?
So even though I worked in tech consulting before, it was very different to the experience that I had. So for me, the pipeline sessions that we mentioned, which is the interview prep, really stand out to maybe the expectations from the tech company, if you're interviewing for a marketing role, for example, are very different than if you're interviewing for a CPG company. So just knowing how to speak tech, knowing how to answer a case question like what would you improve on Google Maps? It was one question that I had, for example, during my interview process. So learning how to structure my answer and think about that beforehand, and then what basically it's a good answer, a bad answer, and some of the expectations. I think that's something that stood out for me. I don't know if you had different...
Yeah, there's a lot of on-campus resources. So for instance, I'm a career fellow. You are too.
Yeah.
So the Career Fellows is a program where second-year students apply for and are able to mentor a group of around 4 to 5 first years. And so throughout the whole process, right now I'm mock interviewing my first years, but during the whole process I help them look at their cover letters, I looked at their resume, I looked at, what are their behavioral questions, how are they answering these questions. So it's really, this on-campus resource is really a great way for us to really dive in and help students throughout the progressive years.
Yeah, and then like if you ask this question to different people, they might have different answers. We know a couple people that we did a SQL, Agile, design thinking workshops, for example, and a few people mentioned that was what stood out for them, because once they got into Microsoft or Amazon for the internship, they were expected to know a little bit about that. So they had a head start on their peers or even with their, I guess, workmates. So it really depends on what you want to take out of your experience with Fuqua, what type of background you have, and maybe it can be by chance. So let's say you get a PM role at Amazon, and you might be expected to know a little bit more SQL, but you might not. So it really depends. We have another question from Dipanshu. So actually, we took that one. So Victoria Salenkin asks, can you talk about some of the opportunities available for people interested in the intersection of tech and consulting, in particular on the analytics side? Do Fuqua successfully recruit on campus for positions like BizOps and data science at tech companies or at analytic consulting roles? So there is a lot of intersection between, I think we're both former tech consultants. So, and we have people that interview at Deloitte Digital and McKinsey Digital. So there is intersection, definitely. It really depends on the company if you're going to recruit through the tech consulting pipeline from them or from straight up the consulting pipeline. I know like a couple friends that did the McKinsey internship over the summer at Digital McKinsey, and they recruited basically on the normal consulting process, but Deloitte has their own track, for example. So there are opportunities. We do like maybe a couple sessions with the consulting club, and then we host a lot of companies. I think the question mentioned like the BCG Gamma and Bain Advanced Analytics. So we have like virtual webinars that we host in partnership with those companies to basically explain what they do on that area. And also, like we mentioned, the interview preps, a lot of that is kind of similar, and I think it's pretty easy to do that transition.
I mean, like, so all the club presidents kind of know each other, and so we know what we're good at, and we know what sessions are helpful to all the students. So we work to make sure that, for instance, our tech pipeline doesn't conflict with the consulting club's roadmap where they teach people how to case. Because honestly, if you're going for these kind of tech roles in consulting, you're going to want to go to both sessions.
Yeah, and it's always helpful to learn how to do interviews. You might have an idea. Let's say you want to do tech. When you come here, you might change your mind to do consulting or the other way around. A lot of people actually recruit for both. It's a nice skill set to have.
The marketing club too.
Yeah. So another question for someone from Abshik, from someone from tech background, is program management one of the typical roles? Actually, I was a program manager at Fuqua, at Google over the summer. It's basically a project management role. It can vary between the companies. I know Microsoft interview for that, Amazon as well, and all the, I guess, smaller companies, like, not smaller, but not as big, like Uber, Airbnb, they had similar roles. It is pretty common. So what I've seen from my interview process is that the companies either like if you have a consulting background, because it means you have project management experience, or if you have experience in operations or like a specific function that you might interact. So, for example, I was at the Google Pay team over the summer, so I had a lot of interaction with sales, with PMs, marketing, like design team. So basically, I think the main skill set that was needed for that was just project management experience. I think that's it's probably one of the top 3 or 4 roles that people recruit here at Fuqua.
Yeah, and program management can mean different things at different companies. So for instance, at Microsoft, their program management is their product management, whereas Amazon separates it out to program management versus product management. But overall, we have seen quite a bit of success going into those roles.
So we have another question from Siva. How tech background helps in the career development, and how the new STEM certificate at Fuqua is usable for grads who are interested in the tech career path. So
I'm not taking the STEM certificate, but the people I've talked to are taking it, and it's a very analytical track. So it'll be a huge help if you are interested in those kinds of tech analytics type roles or data science roles. I think overall, I mean, how is it?
Yeah, and then just from an international student perspective, I think it gives you a little bit more leeway as far as how many years you can stay in the US, I guess, without requiring like I don't know the specific details, but I think you have a couple more years than usually without needing a sponsorship from the company to stay. So that's a lot of our fellow classmates are doing that certificate to keep their options open, basically. And then specifically people that have a tech background or a technical background, is always helpful. If you know how to code, for example, it's always going to help you with any tech company. It's definitely not a requirement for, I would say, like 90% of roles. But for the few ones that are, then you're like in pretty good shape. For example, for PMs at Google, they do require you to know how to code. Not necessarily you need to have a technical background, but it's helpful if you have. So that gives you an extra edge, I guess. And then you can also, if you have that background, you can also help out other students here if you could that maybe don't have to run sessions to help like intro to coding or something like that. That would be very helpful. Even if you're not expected to do that at your job, you do need to know how to like speak with an engineer, for example, at a tech company.
Yeah. So next question from Bharat Bains. What type of resources would the Tech Club be able to provide for entrepreneurs who wish to use, for example, data analytics for a future startup? So I feel like there's quite a few people who are doing both Tech Club and P4E. P4E is the Fuka program where students can pitch an idea and find a group of like-minded students who want to help develop that idea, or people who want to be part of a startup but don't have an idea can go and find someone with an idea. So overall, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities for people interested in entrepreneurship. The Tech Club in particular, because we focus a lot on recruiting efforts, not necessarily on helping you create a startup. I feel like maybe there are other events.
Yeah, I feel like we had hosted a few alumni that went on to basically they founded their own company or they worked at very small companies in the Bay Area. So, and sometimes we host in partnership with the Entrepreneurship Club. But that said, there are a few other opportunities in Fuqua in general that I comes to mind, like you can do like a mentor study. What that means is you usually work with a professor that has a lot of connections here, either in the Triangle area or in the Bay Area, for example. That if you want to develop your own startup, or if you want to do, for example, a consulting project at a small tech company here in the area to kind of understand what it takes to build your company, and then those students went on to actually work at either very small startups or to even create their own company. So we have another question here. Do you have any advice for women in tech consulting? So I'll defer that to you, Amanda.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, from Priyanka.
Oh, okay. So in tech consulting in particular, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of opportunities for women. We partner a lot with AWIB, the Association of Women in Business, and there's a lot of special events that companies do want to host for underrepresented minorities, including women. So I feel like for the consulting club, there were some very specific pre-meetings before some events would actually start where the women recruiters could come and talk to students who are interested in these types of roles. So kind of in a more relaxed atmosphere where students can talk about, how to break into these kind of roles that are mostly predominant by males. So for our tech symposium every year, we also organize a collaboration with AWIB where we have a Women in Tech breakfast. So this is a really great opportunity where most of our female panelists are able to come and just do a very small panel with our female students and talk about how their lives have gone, how they got to that point in life, and how to prepare for the future.
Cool. So we have another question from Suyong. How specifically the Fukan culture helps you, I guess, in building your tech career? So actually, that's a really good question. Most of the tech companies in the Bay Area and Seattle, they're very collaborative. They're very, I guess, laid back and easygoing. So, and that reflects well with the Fuka culture. So I think when we host alums from when we have the companies come from different, maybe they study different schools, they mentioned that they really like the Fuka graduates because they know how to work well within teams. They kind of know how to influence others without like authority. So I think that the Fuka culture specifically is really helpful. It's a good asset to have if you work in tech. And then another aspect, I guess, I'll highlight in the Fuka culture is that the alumni are very engaged. So Fuqua is not the largest business school as far as like the number of students that go, but it's I guess medium sized. But everyone that we talked to in the Bay Area and Seattle and maybe like in other places, New York and Austin, they were really helpful. So you could cold call or send an email from a random person from alumni from like 2010, 2011 that you never met, and then they work at let's say they work at Google and they will be pretty responsive. I think that's kind of the common experience that we've seen. So I think the culture helps to foster that engagement from the students and the alums. So that can only help you in your career.
Yeah, and I think the Team Fuqua spirit really speaks on campus as well. So, if you are a first year looking to recruit for a specific company, or you have an interview coming up in 2 days from now, and you want to get in touch with a second year who interned there, I feel like no one has ever refused. Back when I was a first year, no one refused my request for help. And this year, as a second year, I'm paying that forward as well, and talking to people even as late as 8 p.m. tonight for an interview they have tomorrow.
Yeah, that's true. So another question from Priyanka: do most students end up continuing to work for the company they intern at? I'll say maybe half of them, maybe a third.
I think the figure I heard last year was that 60% of people re-recruited and maybe 30% of them chose to not go back to their internship.
Yeah, I mean, once you intern, you know pretty well the company and then the role, and you had the chance to network, let's say, for other roles during the summer. So I think a lot of people maybe re-recruit just to see what else is out there, and maybe they want to, you can, let's say you want to do PM at Google and you don't have necessarily a technical background, so you might do PM at a smaller company over the summer, and then you do the final step. Or you want to work at, let's say you just want to work at Facebook and then you did finance on the internship, but you might have to re-recruit to do marketing at Facebook. So that's like one of the reasons people would re-recruit. So also maybe like that half the people, like I don't have like the actual numbers, but I know like maybe 30% of the class goes to tech nowadays. On the tech track, we had like 90 students attending, which is like 25% of the class. So I think there's like a sizable amount of students that go into tech, and I would say like a third of them probably like stick with their internship experience just because they got what they wanted. We have a few more questions. So from Victoria, since starting B school, have you found difficult to keep your coding skills from getting rusty? Are there any courses you have taken to have allowed you to use those skills? I actually know very basic SQL, so I'm probably not the best person to answer. I did not have to use that skill over the summer, but I've talked to a few of our classmates, especially like with more technical roles, like they were PMs, for example. They did have to code. I feel like as far as actual classes or a resource that you have, I think like Duke overall is a pretty good engineering school. There's a lot of overlap between the courses that you can take here and then the engineering school with like other graduate students. We've seen partnerships with both the Entrepreneurship Club and then also with the Tech Club itself about maybe running like Intro to SQL or any type of more technical workshops. Usually, for like that being said, you're not expected to, I guess, be the person coding in your job post your MBA. So it's a good skill to know to have and to know how to speak to engineers and let's say like more technical PMs. But you're probably gonna be at more business type roles after your MBA.
Yeah, so in college I could code Java and MATLAB. Don't remember most of it anymore. There is a class here called Data Analytics that uses R a lot, and so as a refresher or for people new to R, they did run a R boot camp prior to the class.
Cool. So we have another question from Siva. The RTP is well known for tech industry, so how Fuga collaborates with organizations in the RTP area, and what are the resources like alumni, professor collaborations, and how do we as a tech club reach out to such organizations? So we actually have, like every year we host like one of the examples that comes to mind, we host a design thinking workshop with the Design and Innovation Club. One of the professors from the engineering school, he also is, I don't know if he still is, but he used to be a very senior person at Cisco, which is in the RTP area. So that's one type of collaboration. I remember a couple months ago, a few students went to the IBM Design Thinking Lab here in RTP. There are sessions with more like the more startup scene, I guess, RTP that involves the Entrepreneurship Club as well, and then the Big Duke. And then we have a few students actually intern in big companies like Red Hat and IBM, Cisco, and smaller startups in the Triangle area. So I think there's definitely opportunity to network with those companies and even do, let's say you want to work part-time at a small startup here in the RTP in Raleigh, for example, to maybe build your resume as, let's say you want to do like digital marketing, you maybe don't have that experience. There were like one student I remember that did that throughout his first year to kind of prepare him for full-time recruiting, and he was pretty successful. So I think there's like different ways you can leverage RTP for sure.
Yeah, so there's a program here at Fuqua called the FCCP program, Fuqua Client Consulting Practicum. And so that partners with a lot of local startups who just really need a set of eyes to help them with a particular product. So last year I helped with a healthcare startup in Charleston who was trying to figure out what their business plan even was. Aside from that, we also have a pilot program beginning this year with IBM where we partner IBM mentors with our first year and possibly second year cohorts. So this is a new program that just started, but so far I've been hearing pretty good results from it.
Yeah. So another question from Tony: from the larger tech firms, were there any other geographic areas besides the West Coast that a high concentration of students worked in? So I think the geographical breakdown is like Bay Area, Seattle, Austin. Definitely a lot of people went to Texas and to work in Austin, and then New York, of course, yeah. I think those are the four big ones. Maybe a couple people did more like healthcare tech, like kind of the combination in Boston. But those were maybe the top 4 or 5 places. We have another question from Wasir. As someone who's interested in the HSM certificate to transition to healthcare technology, what opportunities are available in the specific area of technology? So I think we kind of just mentioned that, and you were in the HSM program as well, right?
I am. Sorry, I wasn't figuring out. Okay. So I'm guessing that the kinds of companies you're talking about are things like Verily or Apple Health. For those particular roles, it's going to be very difficult to get in as an intern. They usually don't have internships. And so for a lot of that, you just have to, figure out like what are the skills you need to build in order to get into those roles and then recruit for them full time.
I guess the other side of that would be, I don't know if that specifically the question was asking about biotech firms. We had a few interns at like Genentech, for example, over the summer. I think the HSM program is really good. It's probably one of the best, or if not the best.
I'm in it and I love it.
Healthcare programs out there. So what that means is you get a lot of really good professors, really good alumni, and then a lot of companies come specifically to Fuqua, maybe only Fuqua to recruit. So there's a huge opportunity. A lot of people that, let's say, they have interest in healthcare, but maybe they don't know if they want to work in healthcare. They do the program just to understand a little bit more and then see what the opportunities are out there, and then they get, I guess, convinced by it, and then they end up working at a biotech firm, for example, for this summer. I think we had maybe 4 or 5 people in Genentech, for example.
Yep, 4 people at Genentech this summer, and Amgen also recruits here. So actually for this year's Tech Track, we collaborate with the Healthcare Club so that we can make sure students who are interested in Genentech could go to Genentech, as well as participate in whatever sections of the different club tracks they wanted.
So we have a question from Peter. You mentioned that you interned as a PM at Google. Did this help you transition to ops at Google? And is this a common track? So there's like two parts of the question. I'll take the first one. So I was actually a program manager at Google. I was not a product manager, which is an operations role by name. But basically, you do project management, and a lot of the people that I talked to, they did transition after like 1 or 2 years at Google to a PM role. The caveat is that you do need a little bit of technical background at Google to do product management. But once you're at the company, and that I think that's true for any company, not just Google, like it's easier to transition to a different role once you're already inside. So it's definitely a way. It's definitely doable. If that was a question. Then the second part is, are there any specific declared concentrations that are seen as more marketable to tech company, or is more weight placed on your previous work experience?
I would definitely say previous work experience. Yeah. I don't think I ever even declared a concentration last year when I was recruiting, and I still am trying to decide whether I want to do, strategy or decision sciences.
So I took most marketing classes. I don't have a lot of marketing experience, marketing background, so I did wanted to focus on that. But I don't think the concentration is very like something very useful to have because it shows you're committed to a specific function. But I would say maybe like 60-70% more important to have the background on. And then if you don't have the background, you can maybe use your summer internship to build that experience. Or like Amanda mentioned, like you can do a small like consulting project during the year, or work with a small startup here in the Triangle area, in the area that you do want to transition to. So, question from Donald. For students who want to build their careers in the tech industry a few years out of school, would the tech club be a place to learn and network? I'll say yes, because you're gonna, like we mentioned, like maybe 25-30% of the class nowadays at Fuka goes to tech. So, and those people are gonna build their careers in the tech industry. So, it's definitely good to meet your classmates that are gonna end up in the roles that, or in the companies that you might have an interest to work later on. And then we kind of mentioned the opportunities to go to the Bay Area during the tech track to understand about the companies, attend the conference, attend all the events. So it's definitely useful to learn more about the industry, especially the trends and things that I guess all you should know if you're going into tech, even if it's later on. I think it's useful to be involved in the club.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of social events as well. It's not just recruiting events. And so it really helps people to get to know each other and become closer together. So last year I did not know Andre at all.
Yeah.
And then we decided to run for co-presidents together.
Yeah, it's pretty common actually. So we have from Jirish, how do first year students with tech experience without tech experience generally contribute to the tech club? So that's actually a good question because we can talk a little bit more about the cabinet itself. So as first year students, you're expected to, not expected, but if you want to be in the cabinet, there's multiple areas that you can focus. We mentioned the pipeline program, which is the interview prep program. So first years can help coordinate and run with those sessions with second years, especially if they have a background in tech. As a first year student, for example, I was involved specifically in what we call special events, which is helping to plan the tech track, which is when you go to the Bay Area and Seattle to visit the companies, and also host case competitions on campus. We actually didn't mention that yet, but we hosted Microsoft, Cisco, Amazon, and a few, I guess, like more online case competitions. So that's another thing that the first years can be more involved and help to run and prepare and promote within the Fuka community. You were in the different cabinet as a first year?
Yep, I was in career development. So we organized a lot of the smaller career recruiting events, and including the Tech 101 series, as well as the master classes. So when I was a first year, we got a proposal from a fellow first year. He wanted to teach a class on Agile. And so we created the event, and it was a huge success.
Yeah, so and then there are other ways that to be on the camera, I guess. If you have a marketing background, you can run, I guess, social media or the internal marketing efforts here at Fuqua for the club. If you have a finance background, you can help set up the budget, help us to basically get sponsors for the club. What else? I think there's also the
External
relations, which is basically, and it's a very cool role actually because you're going to work hand in hand with the CMC to help bring more tech companies to recruit at Fuqua. So that role is basically a business development role. You're going to reach out to different companies. It can be alumni, it can be not alums, to explain what the value proposition is for Fuqua students to a tech company and help to, I guess, improve the recruiting efforts. I think that last year they were pretty successful. We had, in each year you see more companies that maybe they just posted their role on campus, I guess like GTS, on the system. They start to recruit and come to campus actually to recruit students. So I think that's a good a way that as a first year student, even if you don't have a tech background, to be like involved in industry right away. So we have another question from Victoria. Has the Tech Club or Fuka considered facilitating pre-MBA internships in tech so that students can get an idea of whether they prefer a startup culture or a large tech company? I think it's a very good idea. A lot of the people that come to, I think the MBA in general, they might not necessarily be committed to one industry. So it's good if you explore beforehand. Like, to be honest, we haven't done anything as far as the pre-MBA experience, because it's kind of, I guess, difficult to coordinate with the people that are coming to Fuqua, but it's definitely something that you can look into it.
I mean, it's definitely up to the companies as well. Like, I think there's only a limited number of companies that offer these pre-MBA internships, right? I think they're probably like smaller programs, but I feel like there are a lot of diversity conferences that happen before the MBA starts, and so you see quite a few classmates come in with already an offer in hand that they got through these special recruiting efforts outside of school.
Cool. So another question from Bharat. Do you also get manufacturers, aircraft, automotive, for example, looking for tech role recruiting through the club, or is it limited to generic tech companies such as Microsoft? We had, I think last year we had a few people working at Tesla, for example, which is like a cool intersection between, I guess, tech and automotive, like you mentioned. As far as the more established, I guess, aircraft, I would assume you mentioned like Boeing or something like that. I don't see them coming to campus, honestly. I think it's more maybe smaller startups that.
Yeah, so I would say that because a lot of the roles at these manufacturers are more general management, you might see them coming through more the general management club.
Another question. I'm currently from Gaurav. I'm currently a PM at one of the largest social media companies. What type of vertical shift can I expect from a Fuka degree? So by PM, I assume a product manager. If you already work in a big tech company, I would assume that if you want to maybe transition to a different role, that would be it. Maybe what we've seen, if you work, let's say you work at Google, you want to come back to Google after your internship, you want to transition to, I guess, a more business type role, like strategy, for example, or you might want to like a higher level up. I don't know if that's that common for tech as opposed to, like, let's say consulting, where you come to get your MBA and then you're basically in a fast track to I guess be a manager. One more question from Siva. How flexible it is to do some courses in tech, I guess outside the business school, and what are possible interaction mediums with tech school? I assume that would be the engineering school, I guess more technical roles, more technical courses. There's a few, every year there's like maybe like 5-6 students I remember taking, there's like a design thinking class from the engineering school. That there's a lot of overlap, so a lot of people take that class if they have an interest. I think that's what I've seen most common. As far as like very technical, I haven't seen a lot of people trying to go that route, because either they know how to code and they just want to basically brush up, and then the workshops that we run are enough. Or if they do want something more like specific, I think they go more on the online route, because you can do it at your own pace, and honestly it's cheaper than trying to do all, I guess, in university.
Yeah, I guess I haven't really seen that much first year, because first year for the fall semester you have to work on the core courses, but then once spring comes your schedule is freed up and you can do, I guess, whatever you want.
Cool. So another question from Victoria. Have either of you been able to take any experiential learning courses that had tech-related projects? If so, can you talk about your experiences? I think you talked a little bit about yours, but yeah, I actually did a similar project that you did for, which they call FCCP program here, which is basically you do a consulting project for a company. I knew I wanted to go into tech, and I wanted a very small startup, and if possible in marketing. And then I did find one that was basically a ed tech, educational tech company based out of Miami. So it was like the perfect combination for me, because I was able to do like customer segmentation, more like marketing, like analytics, some things that I maybe did not have the experience to do before business school, and that lasted the whole spring semester from like January to May. And then since we were working with a very small startup, we had direct contact with the CEO, which is also the founder. So that was a really good experience to understand like some of the challenges of a startup, what type of skills an MBA student can bring in that scenario, and basically see like be another like resource for that company, and which was pretty cool because since it was a semester long, that's probably longer than most consulting projects. So we actually got to implement some of the changes that we're proposing and see the results. So I think it was really good experience. You mentioned your experience as well.
Yeah, so mine wasn't really a tech startup. It was more of a healthcare startup that really wanted to understand who they could target in their customer segmentation. So we actually built out not only a marketing plan and business plan, but we used a lot of market research techniques to figure out what is the ideal customer for this company.
Cool. Another question: are the smaller startups you mentioned early for entrepreneurship experience a viable option for the international students for intern or job? I guess the visa aspect is definitely a concern. I would say that maybe the
For internships, there's not a problem.
yeah, even honestly, from friends that either attended Fuqua or even other schools, as far like the smaller startup school, I think there's definitely a viable option because a lot of them they don't sponsor because they have never sponsored a student in the past. So once you get the internship and you show basically what you bring and then to the table, and then they like you, they like your work, I guess outcomes. A lot of we heard from a couple students that we actually want to know a little bit more about how to sponsor you to keep you for full time. I think that's definitely a route as opposed to, let's say, a big company that has a strict policy of not hiring international students. So I think most of the tech companies sponsor this. I think like 80-90% of them sponsors to international students, and then the smaller companies are also open, but it can be a more challenging process as far as that they don't know the process. They're maybe a little bit more afraid of what could happen. So I guess the most helpful way to do that is to actually network a lot of those companies, and then if possible do internship with a company that you want to work in.
Alex. Okay, so from Alex, between you and your classmates, are there particularly helpful ways that tech-focused students help each other? For instance, case studies, interview prep. How do you balance the competitive nature of the program with being a supportive community? I feel like there's never any cutthroatness or any competitiveness. I mean, you have to rely on your classmates in order to do case studies and to do interview prep. So right now, what I've been telling a lot of my first years that I mentor for their career search is go out and talk to your classmates and create a schedule of when you guys can mock interview each other, because really the more practice you get and the more feedback you get is the best way for both of you guys to succeed.
Yeah, I have like a couple examples that come to mind. I think Fuqua is very collaborative, and that helps because there's definitely a competitive aspect of if you're interviewing for the same roles. But I feel like it's very common. Like in my example, for example, I was interviewing for roles at Apple, and with some classmates that were gonna interview for the same role on the same date. So we're prepping each other and then helping each other, giving like feedback, what we thought was good, the stories that you were telling, how you're preparing for like I guess case studies during the interview. So that definitely helpful. Another example that comes to mind is like we mentioned case competitions. I was doing the Microsoft one last year, and then something happened. I guess we're expected to present for like 10 minutes, and then what that was maybe like 12, 20 teams are going to present, and then the first couple teams that went there was actually only 5 minutes. Basically, you had to cut 50% of presentation, so they obviously did not do as well as they expected. But I think just the Fuqua spirit, they actually told everyone that was going to present after them, like, hey guys, like be prepared to like be 50% of like cut your presentation 50%. So that's like one aspect that we've seen happen that students are really helpful, and then maybe it doesn't happen in other schools. I'm not sure, but we've seen like multiple examples of this happen at Fuqua.
Yeah, students definitely let each other know if they missed out on something from a office hour or from a presentation. I think this year's first years actually started a private group where they talked about if you're in this room for this office hour, like this is who you're going to be talking to, and these are maybe the questions they'll ask.
Yeah, and honestly, because you might interview for the same roles in different companies, but let's say you do get the job at Apple, and then someone else gets a job at Google. If you're both going to be in the Bay Area, for example, for the summer, you might exchange experiences. Let's say that person that is at Google has more interest of working at Apple, and then vice versa. So I don't think it's cutthroat at all, and then you can learn from each other from those experiences.
Yeah.
So I think we've taken most of everyone's questions so far. If you have anything else, you can send to us. We have a couple minutes still
Yeah.
that we're gonna be here. I think we cover most of the things we wanted to cover. Is there anything else that?
I don't think so. I mean, so we do have one more outstanding question that we think we've answered, but we can give a high-level overview as well. So Deepan Shu asked, what are some common roles in tech that graduates have gone into? So again, we mentioned PM, product management, program management, marketing, finance, operations, strategy. Just basically the whole gamut of whatever roles you can find in a tech company students have gone into.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities for work at any type of role in a tech company.
Yeah.
Cool. So, yeah, if there's not any more questions, we just want to thank you guys for attending to today. You can probably find us on LinkedIn. If you have any outstanding questions, then reach out to us later on. We'll be happy to answer any questions that you have about Fuqua, about tech, about the triangle area, anything that you have not been answered today.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, we do have one more question.
From Jirish, living the East Coast, what are the best ways to network with the companies in the West Coast from Fuqua? So I think from personal experience, besides the tech track, which when I actually go to the West Coast and spend a week there, it's not all, but most of it you can do online. You find people on LinkedIn or in the alumni network, and then you reach out, you do phone calls or like you do Skype or something like that, and it's pretty common, and I think it reflects the way work is done at a tech company. My experience, for example, at Google over the summer, most of the team was not in the Bay Area, so I had to do calls every day with people in India, the Philippines, and Brazil, and Europe. So the nature of not meeting the person, having like that one-on-one interaction in person, it's pretty common in a tech company. So I think that just translates pretty well to the networking side. So I think that's one way you can leverage, is just take advantage that most people are used to having that virtual interaction to network. And like we mentioned, there's ways you can actually be physically in the Bay Area if you want to talk to, like, maybe do like a coffee chat with someone. And besides the tech track, we've seen people during the winter break or spring break to go to the West Coast and just like start scheduling lunches and coffee chats with alumni in those companies that they have an interest in.
Yeah, and a lot of companies do come on campus to talk to us, and they bring representatives. So people build relationships through those representatives and keep in touch, and are able to branch out and meet new people through those networks.
Cool. So I guess we have one more question.
From Alex.
From Alex. Anything that has really surprised you about the MBA program in general? What's something you didn't necessarily expect? What surprised you, Amanda, about the MBA program?
It's work. It's not a vacation like I was expecting. I mean, you are taking classes and you are recruiting, and so it's really a great test of your time management skills, and also a test of how resilient you are throughout the whole process.
Yeah, I'll say time management is probably the most important skill, because there is the academic component. Recruiting is also very intense throughout most of the year, and Fuqua itself is basically a student-run school. So all the clubs, all the events are run by the students. So you can get very busy how to like balance those three aspects. Any given week you might have like a couple classes in the morning, then you might attend a company presentation during lunch, and you might work with the club, for example, preparing for the tech conference and helping to get speakers or helping with the more logistical side. So that's like a typical day for a Fuqua student, and not even like the one that is in the tech club or any club. So kind of involved in several areas, and you need to know how to manage your time.
Yeah, but I think that's also just, certain people like getting involved in everything, and I think that's us.
Yeah. It's usually you can see a lot of people involved in multiple things. So like the first year I was in the tech club, I was in the design club, I was a mentor to Duke undergrads, and on the second year I kind of wanted to focus a little bit more. We kind of both chose to run for the tech club and to be career fellows.
Yeah, and also other fellows.
Yeah. Cool. So thanks, you guys. Like we mentioned, if you have any questions, you can reach out to us. We'll be happy to answer those. And thanks for attending the session.
Bye.